Hi guys, so today I'm going to talk to you about rainbow backlines. The reason I'm doing this is because someone on the YouTube page called Kura Ako, again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, was asking a few questions on exactly what was the best formation. In his case, he had a Lucian, so I will start by explaining what happens with a Lucian when you don't have legendaries, continue what happens when you have legendaries, and what are the goalkeepers could you also be looking at. So the very first thing you need to know is that Lucian skill, the one that gives heal on the line, has now been changed to the fact that it can revive players after the damage is calculated. So in a way, it can stop players or especially utilities, and it's very good in the new current meta because you're forced to shoot multiple times to take down the goalkeeper. For Lucian in particular, I would say I'm just gonna go to the list so people can see their EAT versions. Of course, as you saw previously, there was Magnus I put in the formation. So there's gonna be always Magnus as a very viable option. And this is when I hate looking for the book. Of course, there's also going to be Kiki. She's actually a really strong stealer, and she has one of the best high buffs you can get in backline. On top of it, it isn't even some sort of limitation based to it like element or anything, so it's really great. She also increases action speed and pass effect within the position, who's really good to get the ball out. So in a lot of teams, you're going to see her, and she's going to have an increase of reflex and attack power by 30% of an attack, just to increase that reflex even more. So she's a really good backline player. Now, she usually gets paired with Magnus, who I am once again having issues to find, as I always have issues finding people. Here is our friend Magnus. The reason why he's great is because he is the only elemental totem that isn't elementally locked. And what I mean by that is a lot of them, such as Chitose, and I keep forgetting the other names too, but they all have some skill that is only for their element. So for in this case, increase max hype and reflex, it would be Whirlwind only. We are highly believing that this will be changed very soon, so take this with a note that it might no longer be the case. And when this changes, he will no longer be the best backliner. But he does have what we're going to consider the best resistance, because he has a resistance to Andor and Thunder, who are basically the two strongest players with a slow rise of Vonchi, but until S3 is launched and we finally find out if Season 2 legendaries will be in DM shop, this does stop the best strikers in game. He also has action speed, max hype within the position, again some reflex for himself, who's pretty cool. His active is sadly pretty bad. I would not max that out. So those are already in the Wormrun category. I would say those are the key players. Again, I'm not going to talk about legendary players, and I'm not talking about mono teams. This is only for Rainbow. Now on Rainbow, you can't really spell Rainbow without going in the Andor section and talking about our very lovely Yuri. So Yuri, I think I don't really need to explain why she's that great. She's just the ultimate totem on all levels. So she's just a great totem for backline, and she's going to help you get the ball out. In Andor, the other ones, there's some pretty decent cards, but unless you're looking at legendaries, on majority of them, they're going to be pretty average. I would say Kevin is also pretty nice, but I would more recommend him for a mono Andor backline. Here, action bar of all players will start, decrease defense and critical rates of enemy within position. That's pretty cool. And decrease inflicted damage within position. So those two are actually really great buffs for survival. So that's why, again, if you're running something Andorish, it's pretty good. In Rainbow, it's not as good, but for some people with low DR, it can be pretty nice. Now, on a light note, I would say there's basically two valuable players, and even then, I would say one is not that great. So first, we have Michael. He is a pretty decent totem. Increased crit rate, reflex, and max hype by 25%. But the problem is, he's basically some sort of cheese level player. You shoot at him, he's taken out. You try to steal from him, he's taken out. He just doesn't have that survival that most players have. So you can send him up. If you have a Kiki with a lot of speed, a Magnus, he will survive, but he will be barely surviving, and he's not going to be able to take the ball out. So at that point, I would say just throw a Kevin. But again, this is my personal opinion, and I do run light and dark, and I don't want to use him. Knowing there's not that many light and dark back buffs, that says a lot. In the light, we have our great friend Virgil, aka the Salt God, ranked the most OP player, counting legends, in the recent player poll. Why? Well, there's very simple. 2 skills are traumatizing people. The first one, recover I by 15%, and spirit for every ally within the position on a penetration. Meaning, the goalkeeper is counted, 3 of the backline players are counted. It's just a huge regain. I think it can go up to 1.5 bars. 1.5 bars for a single action. Add a Will of Metatron on this, some more speed or Penstone, and he can be doing this all day long. So that's why he said it. And then you're combining this with aka the Salt Active, who is recovered team hype by 60% and action bar by 50. Sadly, team hype is divided by 2 currently in PvP, and the action bar is the only part that remains. So ironically, people are complaining about the action bar. I would say you can remove the action bar if you give us back the heal, but you can't remove both. Sadly, a lot of players have been complaining, so there is also a high chance he will be nerfed. So players I want you again to be careful with are Magnus and Virgil, because both of them have very high chances of having a skill change in the near future. In the dark section, to be honest, I wouldn't really consider that any of them are truly powerful. The only player I would say you might see would be Avaron, but again, he is outshadowed by Virgil, and if Virgil goes down, then Avaron might go back up. He's also a healer, but what's really nice with him is that he's going to decrease action speed, pass effect, and reflex within the position. So if you're trying to do some high reflex backline, this is actually a pretty nice buff. Now he also has increased attack power and pass and decreased inflicted damage, meaning you can stick him on either one of the sides. Again, it feels pretty weak compared to Virgil, but he's not really that bad of a player. There's another bunch of them, but those are really going to be pointing towards the monos. And there is Nerua, who again would be better in a mono thunder, but can still show some pretty good value in non-mono thunder backs. She is another elemental totem, and you would usually be switching out Magnus for her. Increase max type and defense of thunder players. So like I'm saying, this is the elemental totem part. And what's really nice is this skill. Increase critical resistance and counterattack resistance within the position. That's when you don't want to do a reflex backline and you want to do a pure damage line. Was pretty cool too. And decrease incoming Wormwind and light damage. Again, if you see a Vonchi, if you see a Beatrice, you can switch out to this. And when you have the Magnus, it's Andor and Thunder. So like this, you have 4 of the 5 elements. And I don't really know any good Dark Striker, to be honest. But some can work out, but in PvP, they're just not the thing. So on that note, I'm just going to go back to the idea of Lucian specifically. On Lucian specifically, I just want to point out that an Andor backline is fully functional. What I mean by an Andor backline, I would be pointing towards sticking Death Queen in it, just because she has some insane skills. Decrease the damage of allies received from Dark and Wormwind. So it's pretty nice for a Thunder line, an Andor line, I mean. Decrease the pass effect within position. I mean, this already has been nerfed on the other side, but even more. And this is her bread and butter. Increase max side by 35%, counterattack resistance by 20%, attack power by 25% from Andor players. So if you're doing this, it works really well. When you're throwing her in, then this is when Kevin is really going to shine. So I would also stick a Kevin, and I would stick a Yuri. Now again, it is irrelevant if you're running a Rainbow team, because none of these are global totems, so it makes no difference, and these players don't really have a lot of Nemesis chains in them, so it makes not a big impact if you're using them. Now, as I said earlier, I'm going to talk just a little note on backline legends now. Again, if you're running Rainbow and you want to throw Andor, Shu is the equivalent of a Virgil. A lot of people are going to throw him there. So it's pretty nice. Recover hype, mind blown, allies within the position, a recover action bar and hype with an attack. So he's basically like a super duped up, drugged up Andor Virgil. So he's pretty cool. You're also gonna find, and not as a goalkeeper, I want to precise, a King Jin, usually on left back. He's being used as a totem because of decreased crit rate and reflex within position, increased max hype within position. He has an active block, and the problem is that this skill only activates when goalkeeper position, so we don't care. But the thing is, William is still too common to use him as a goalkeeper, and elemental advantage will totally crush him. So that is why he is not used. And of course, there's going to be Curl and Duran. Curl is basically the get the ball out of here kind of player. He just damages, even increases attack power and critical damage of the entire team. And you're going to have what we call in PvP the hate player, Duran, with his really annoying decreased attack power and penetration within the position. Knowing that penetration is capped at 100%, that means he already blocks it to a maximum of 75, who's actually a lot of reduction when you think about it for a single skill that also decreases attack power. And it's not even talking about increased max side, crit resistance, defense, decreased critical damage. It's just a really good player all around. He doesn't actually have a lot of power to get the ball out, but he has a lot of power in the sense that he's going to make your backline basically immortal. Now, those are the main players I would throw in a bag, but for Lucian, that's what I'm going to advise. In PvP, some other goalkeepers are also valuable. We have noticed that the new goalkeeper, Angela, with her EE, is becoming pretty cool, but since she's Season 2, we're going to wait to see how it goes on. With Lucian's healing of the line, we don't know if she's going to keep her official value. She does have this really cool skill that's going to recover 10% of the life for every ally being attacked, who's basically insanely good. Also, when she gets attacked, the more people block the ball with her, the more she's going to get a decreased damage on top of her current skills, making her one hell of a hard goalkeeper to kill. Another one of the ones you're usually going to find is going to be Kay. With the passer nerf, once again, his Great Wall skill has been even more value, increased crit resistance and reduce incoming damage, knowing that he also has Never Die, that is going to increase damage reduction and defense when hype is below 60%. With the new meta, he's starting to shine a bit more, but I would still say that one of the two Andors is best. So those are the three top goalkeepers you're going to see in rainbow teams, and those are the lines you're usually going to find. Again, some other players can be thrown, some other things can be done. It really depends your formation, your ideas. I mean, I've actually seen a bunch of times some people just throw in a Metatron because of how they changed her skills. So now you're going to be able to decrease reflex attack power, and I mean, you can even use it to heal. It's pretty sad that she has become something that you can throw in backline. She used to be a center mid, but I guess it was her ideal position. So I just want to give a shout out to Paradox, because I know he wanted me to do a player review, and I'm not going to be able to do this until the Season 3 update comes out, because as I said previously, this is going to do a lot of changes, and what I said today might change too at that point. So just keep that in mind, that everything I say and I have said before might change on Season 3, and I'm going to be redoing a lot of my videos. So I'm not taking player requests, and I'm going to be posting a little bit less videos than I usually would. But when Season 3 hits, I'm going to be posting a lot. So stay tuned for that, and I hope to see you guys soon.